As a young boy going through puberty, this was a difficult scene to watch with other people in the room.
How old were you in 1989?
I think 24.
Yeah, you were in your 20s. You were in...
No.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John...
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why do they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you even remember what Blockbuster Video was? If you answered yes, and this is the podcast for you, I'm one of your 4 co-hosts, Roger Roper, and alongside me are my 3 co-hosts, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
Kerri Gross.
Hello.
And Gene Sir Didymus Lyons.
I'm exhausted from living up to your expectations of me.
And each week we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films still hold up. Each week the audience selects from 6 movie choices that we then break out our laser disc and watch the movie that tallied the highest number of votes at the end of each podcast. The 4 of us will provide you with the number of wipes each movie would take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. It's how we help grow the podcast. You can also check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review television series such as Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Westworld. We just finished up over there. So if you want to check that out, you can find all the information at shatontv.com. That being said, Big D, what are we in store for this evening?
So this was one of those special movies. Kerri Gross has been pushing for Labyrinth for quite a while. I was in a movie in probably about a month and a half, 2 months ago, and I saw that it was the 32nd anniversary of Labyrinth, which came out June 27, 1986. So we said, why not? Let's get the band together. Let's go see it in person. But unfortunately, I'm a couple thousand miles away. So the entire Arizona crew went and saw Labyrinth, and that's what we'll be reviewing today.
Yeah, it was an interesting experience. I guess these are like phantom events where they replay an old movie like for one weekend. So, Gene, how many people were there? There was a bunch of us.
Oh, yeah. So it was a packed house, first of all, in the theater. And you got to remember, this movie came out in 1986. This is 2018, and they still managed to pack several showings of it. So we caught, I think it was a Sunday afternoon showing of it. It was like a matinee. And it was me, you, Raj, King B, Kerri Gross, your girlfriend, Megan, Kerri's sister, and one of her friends. I think that was all of us, yeah. But we basically took up an entire row. Unfortunately, it was the front row of the theater because...
The very front row.
Yeah, which caused us to kind of sit in sort of a Challenger shuttle orientation as we launched off toward Bowie's codpiece.
Yeah, it was it was like we were looking right at a Ziggy Stardust because all of the seats except for I think King B's reclined in the front seat. I think he had to sit like in the handicap seat, which I don't understand why the handicap seat doesn't go back, but at least there was that. At least we could like lean all the way back, and it was like we were, like you said, taking off onto the moon. But I feel like that's the best way to watch this movie because you really get the effect of that codpiece.
You get right in David Bowie's.
I mean, it's almost like you're watching the movie in 3D.
I just want to point out that the reason why that seat doesn't recline is because it's near the exit.
Aha!
Therefore, if somebody were trying to get out and the seat were reclined, it would block everyone and we'd all die in a horrible fire. Also, I switched with King B because he complained so much, so I ended up in that seat actually that wouldn't recline. Taking one for the team yet again.
Big D, you missed out, given this was like the 32nd anniversary and you were just watching it somewhere online. You missed out on this wonderful like 30-minute short film that they forced us to sit through.
The storyteller?
I wouldn't say I missed out on anything.
It was, what was it called? It was something
it was
in
the storyteller.
Sack. The storyteller.
It was the storyteller. It's coming back on I guess in a box set with like a storyteller chair or whatever he sits in. It's a very famous actor that's the storyteller, but the stories
short story of the storyteller is a magic sack, and a puppet is just continuously telling someone to get in his sack.
Yeah, there's a lot of innuendo. I'm convinced that Jim Henson was not right in the head.
For those who don't know, The Storyteller is apparently a classic series that Henson also worked on, and they were promoting it throughout this theatrical screening of Labyrinth. And so as the story goes, the legend of this one goes, a soldier is imbued with a magic sack, and anything that he tells to get in it must. And so and there's a real nice call and response that you could do with the audience where you say, do you know what this is? And they say, a sack. And then you say, well, get in it. Yeah. And I mean, I didn't enjoy the storyteller per se, but that gave us hours of laughter afterward.
We've, for the next 48 to 72, however long it takes to get to the moon, we kept saying, get in my sack.
The best part.
You know what this is? It's my sack. Get in there.
The best part is we all sit down and Roger's girlfriend goes, is there puppets in this movie?
Yeah.
What the
Megan's not.
Oh boy, you're in for a treat. Are there puppets in this movie?
Yeah. She's like, I didn't know this was a puppet. I said, it's not a puppet. It's a Muppet movie. That's our relationship. Well, Labyrinth is a 1986 musical fantasy film directed by Jim Henson, executive produced by George Lucas. The film revolves around 15-year-old Sarah, who's played by Jennifer Connelly's quest to reach the center of an enormous otherworldly maze to rescue her infant brother Toby, whom Sarah wished away to Jareth, the Goblin King, played by David Bowie. With the exception of Connelly and Bowie, most of the film's significant characters are played by Muppets, produced by Jim Henson's Creature Shop. The New York Times reported that Labyrinth had a budget of $25 million. However, the film was a box office disappointment, grossing just $12.9 million during its U.S. theatrical run. The commercial failure demoralized Henson to the extent that his son Brian remembered the time of the film's release as one of the most difficult periods of his father's career. It would be, unfortunately for the world, the last feature film that would be directed by Henson before his death in 1990. Although it was met with mixed critical response upon its initial release, Labyrinth has since gained a large cult following. A 4-volume comic sequel to the film, Return to Labyrinth, was published by Tokyopop between 2006 and 2010. In 2012, Archaea Studios Press announced that they were developing a graphic novel prequel to the film. So apparently Jennifer Connelly gets younger, or they're going to explore the Goblin King's other conquests of young females. In January 2016, it was announced that a reboot was in development, which was later denied by screenwriter Nicole Perlman, describing it instead as a spin-off in the same fictional universe. Can't wait for that to happen. We always ask the question, where were you? What are your memories of this movie? We'll start with you, Gene.
Yeah, guys, I mean, I'm ashamed to admit this as a self-identifying goth, but I'd actually never seen Labyrinth in its entirety. Two of my closest friends, Kerri Gross and my friend Victoria, who lives in Chicago, are huge fans of Labyrinth. I've heard Magic Dance probably about 1,000 times, and I imitate Jareth anytime I wear a cup for sparring. But I'm an absolute fraud. I hadn't seen this movie until this viewing, and I'm glad I did. It was an experience, to say the least.
Now, Kerri, you're also a self-described goth. Was this a big part? And you're a female. Thank God we needed a female for this podcast. Was this a big part of your life growing up? Like, did you watch Labyrinth, even though you're significantly younger than the rest of us?
I think before I identified as goth, I identified as a nerd and into fantasy things. So the amount of times I've seen this movie is ridiculous. My little sister is on the spectrum, and you know, one of the things that autistic people do is become obsessive about certain things. And for a while, it was the film Free Willy, and we would watch Free Willy multiple times during the day. And she had like a blow up whale that's supposed to go in a pool, but just in our living room. She'd play the harmonica. And so I showed her this movie, and thankfully Free Willy was done. And we watched The Labyrinth on repeat every day for like a full year. She even had a baby doll. Its name was Toby. He had a car seat in our car. We turned our guest bathroom into a nursery. We knew every word by heart, every song. So I was pretty excited when people on Twitter were encouraging us to do this film. And then, you know, I got to take my little sister when the Shat Boys took me to see it.
Did you give her hallucinogenic peaches?
No.
No, you didn't care for trip balls? No, again, it must have been because it failed the box office. So there must have been enough bad press, and that's why I didn't see it. Because movies in the same genre, like Legend, which was out the year before, or the Muppet movies like The Dark Crystal, yeah, I saw those. But this one I didn't see in the theaters. But somehow, as I watched it, I remembered every single one of the scenes. and just do not remember actually watching them. And I'm a little glad that I actually didn't go see this in the theaters, because I might have been tempted to walk out.
Especially if you had to sit through a 30-minute film about a sack.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever watched this movie. Like, I'm aware of this movie. I was a big Muppet fan, but I don't know when or how or where I may have watched this. It may have been a prepubescent wet dream. Who knows? But this was definitely the first time I can remember vividly and lucidly watching this movie from start to finish.
I'm sorry for that, Roger. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, listen, at least I got to watch it like the astronauts would have. That being said, Big T, why don't you go ahead and play that trailer?
TriStar Pictures announces the collaboration of 3 extraordinary talents. Jim Henson, creator of The Muppets and Dark Crystal.
Where you go with a head like that?
George Lucas, creator of the Star Wars saga. And one of the most innovative forces in modern entertainment, David Bowie. Together, they will take you into a dazzling world of fantasy and adventure.
There's nothing to be afraid of.
A world where anything seems possible and nothing is what it seems.
Everything I've done for you. I move the stars for no one. Run so long, run so far.
The world of Labyrinth.
15-year-old Sarah Williams rehearses a play in the park but becomes distracted by a line she is unable to remember. Realizing that she is late to babysit her brother Toby, she rushes home and is confronted by her stepmother Irene. Sarah rashly wishes Toby to be taken away by the Goblin King Jareth, a character in the play that she is rehearsing. She is shocked when Toby disappears and the Goblin King confronts her and transports her to his kingdom. He refuses to return the baby but gives Sarah 13 hours to solve his labyrinth and find him before Toby is turned into Goblin forever.
Okay, so as the movie opens up, and I don't remember any of this as I'm watching it, I swear that's the owl from Clash of the Titans. Then I see George Lucas in the credits as the executive producer. My heart sinks, and the only thing I could think of was, thank God it's only an hour and 38 minutes.
That CGI owl is the first fully CGI animal created on film.
I never would have guessed.
If you can't tell.
Yeah, this is where I don't remember any of this beginning. It's not good. And again, as a 15-year-old girl, should we be concerned that she's out playing in the park, rehearsing a play by herself? Like, is this concerning? Like, if I were her parents, like, she is in full...
As a 15-year-old, she can't be outside by herself?
No, but she's like in full Renaissance gear. Like, I don't have kids, but okay, Big D.
They're probably resting easy knowing that she's never going to get laid. She's performing a play in
so?
Renaissance fair out in a park by herself.
But was I the only one who felt like Jennifer Connelly was kind of hot?
She's a babe.
Oh God. I felt, and I don't want to sound perverted here, but we know what Jennifer looks like as an adult, and she's done plenty of adult roles. So seeing her at 14, I think when she filmed this, was she 15? I had to remind myself multiple times, she's a child. She's a child. I know who she turns into, but she's a child.
Ass to ass.
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Nobody else remembers that's what she turns into?
Well, it's interesting because this is a coming of age story, and everything's a metaphor for her going through puberty and becoming a woman. But I think it's way more than that. It could also kind of like an older man seducing a younger woman and the risk that she faces losing her innocence. This is kind of a movie. I could see pedophiles watching this and getting off. Like, it's a little uncomfortable at certain points.
Yeah. Later on, we're going to get into it, whether or not the fact that David Bowie, a clearly adult man in his 40s, whether it's creepy to be trying to seduce or get romantic with a child. But Jennifer Connelly, I was glad to see. So many times we see shitty child actors, or Macaulay Culkin, or a lot of the kids that really don't pull off their performances as children, turn into messes as adults. Jennifer went the other way. She's been nominated for 25 major awards. She's won 15. She even won an Oscar for Beautiful Mind. But as a guy growing up during these years, I don't know if you guys remember, in 91, she did a movie called Career Opportunities, where I think she lived in like a Walmart Kmart. And there's a famous scene of her riding a coin-operated horse. Do either of you guys remember that scene?
Was she like, did she purposely go into the Walmart and live? And was she like pregnant as well? And that's why she like
That's
ran
Natalie
away from
Portman.
home?
That's Natalie
No.
Portman.
Which one is that?
No.
That's the Natalie Portman one, but she's living in a big box store, right?
Yeah,
I
this
I
one,
find
it's
Natalie
like-
Portman very hot.
No, this is like Dolores in the trailer for Westworld Season 2, where she's rhythmically riding that horse. As a young boy going through puberty, this was a difficult scene to watch with other people in the room.
How old were you in 1989?
I think 24?
Yeah, you were in your 20s. You were in
No.
Well, this truly is a coming of age story, though, right? Like, this is all metaphorical for her journey into womanhood, right, Kerri?
I mean, I think she's growing out of playing fairy tales at the end of this fairy tale.
But did anyone pick up on Sarah's the character that she's playing, the innocence being a physical embodiment in the form of Toby? Toby, her little brother that she can't stand. Is that her innocence? Because in Hebrew, Toby, I don't know if you guys know this, means God is good.
Did you read this on Reddit?
I got this on Reddit, yeah.
That's so.
It's you can't get more innocent and sweet than God is good. So is it possible that Toby is that thing that Jareth is after? You know, the Goblin King, he's after her innocence.
Shat on Reddit.
That's right.
No, I don't care what he's after, but Sarah, I texted you guys when I was watching. I said, Sarah's a bit of a dick. What is she complaining about? She shows up late home. Her parents just want to go out and have dinner. They say, hey, can you watch your little brother? She hasn't even babysat him. She didn't change a diaper. And she's complaining, you don't love me. You don't know. Shut up and just babysit your brother. Why was she complaining?
That seemed like the easiest babysitting job, too. Like he was asleep. What the fuck do you have to do?
Yeah, I also want to mention, like, at this point, we haven't seen David Bowie at all, which was really bothering me.
So you think there's not enough Bowie? Okay, now I know that you guys are more of a Bowie aficionado and a fan. We're not even 4 minutes into it, and we're already on our second David Bowie song. I understand David Bowie, big star. You know, he's in the movie. We got to use him. Way too much Bowie.
Yeah, if I'm on the editing team, Big D, and I'm looking at all the footage that they shot, my first instinct would be, we need to put as much Bowie in this movie as possible. It's the only thing that's really working here. He is, in my opinion, aside from the costume and the set design, the only good thing about this movie. The only parts that truly grip me, even if his teeth were absolutely horrid, were Bowie's moments on... He needed more minutes on screen, honestly.
But do you think he was aware this was a child's movie? Or did he think this was maybe going to be an R, hard PG? Because he's a bit creepy.
No, I'm pretty sure he was like, "Hey, you're gonna be playing the role of an older man, a king of a kingdom, ruling over subjects of Muppets, and you're gonna be seducing a young female." I think he's like, "Yeah, fuck it. Where do I sign? Like, you have the contract right here. I'm in." Because that's what he does in his normal everyday life.
Well, do you know who else was up for this role? It was between him and Michael Jackson. Would we look at this movie differently today if Michael Jackson was the Goblin King?
No, I think it's exactly the same.
I read he was set on, he wanted to find like a rock star persona, and he had in mind David Bowie, Prince, Michael Jackson, and Sting, and he was set on Sting, and he was like, they were almost going to go with Sting, and then his kids convinced him that David Bowie was way cooler. Can you imagine if this was Sting?
I just want to point out that you guys are all having this discussion with the assumption that Bowie has any concept of what a normal childhood is, like, or what a child is. Like, Bowie is so beyond the concept of childhood and adulthood that I think that he is treating this in the fluctuating space that only a Bowie can exist. So that's what makes this movie special, is that it is all Bowie.
If you guys want more Bowie than Labyrinth, have you seen The Man That Fell to Earth?
Oh, hell yes.
It's so good. It's really good.
Yeah, I think Michael Jackson probably backed out and then made his own version of this called Moonwalker, where instead of it was a little
It was called
girl?
Oz. Ease on down the road.
No. He did that as well. He also did the Epcot movie, Captain EO, and then Moonwalker. Yeah, but
actually, it was The Wiz.
Oh,
yeah, it's The Wiz. Yeah,
The Wiz.
It's
My bad.
And
Yeah.
you guys are forgetting about
Here
all
comes
those
more
home
Twitter hate.
movies I'm sure exist.
Yeah, the most difficult part for me is because I thought, okay, most of these Phantom events are at movie theaters where they serve beer and you have a waiter or waitress and you can order food. No, it was at the it was like an AMC, so at least it had like the reclining seats, but there was no booze. There was no waiter or waitress, so you had to sit down through the entire movie. I think this would have been better. Kerri, you had a pretty good drinking game.
Oh, yeah. Anytime that Jennifer Connelly says, it's not fair, you take a drink and you'll be wasted by the end of it.
Yeah, as soon as this movie is available for home release, you guys could do that. Until then, we're left with our charcuterie and soda pops.
Well, Sarah meets a dwarfish man named Hoggle, who aids her in entering the labyrinth. She has trouble finding turns and corners, but then meets a talking worm who inadvertently sends her in the wrong direction. Sarah ends up in an oubliette where she reunites with Hoggle after they confront Jareth and escape one of his traps. The two encounter a large beast named Ludo. Hoggle flees in a cowardly fashion while Sarah befriends Ludo. After another riddle, she loses him in a forest.
It's obvious. And okay, we know that this is all in her fantasy. This is a 15-year-old girl's dream because everything is covered in glitter. The walls, the trees, everything is glitter. I hate glitter. It gets on me. You can't clean it off.
It's
Why
the
was there so
herpes
much
of the
glitter?
craft world.
Oh, it
It's
is.
the
It
what?
is.
It's the herpes of what?
It's the herpes of the craft world. You can never get rid of it. No, I mean, fuck glitter. It's a girl's dream because it's got David Bowie's package and spandex. It's a non-binary dream. Boys and girls, both happy.
Yeah, but like, again, what the fuck is going on with that baby?
The baby, I feel bad for that kid. So the character of Toby, just in case you were wondering, was played by actually someone named Toby Froud. And he's actually still in Hollywood. Kerri told me that he decided after this scarring experience that he wanted to become a puppeteer. But today, there's no way a parent is going to let their child, that scene where they're in the throne room and the child is surrounded by, they're not friendly looking Muppets. This isn't Sesame Street. There's not Elmo. These are like armor covered, freakish looking rat. The kid is crying for real. Toby is crying for real. And then you throw on top of that magic dance song, which I'm sure Gene loves, but I hated it. And I hear the line that says, when the baby's crying, slap the baby, make him free. What the fuck is this movie doing?
On all honesty, I didn't know it said that until just now. This whole time, my whole life, I thought he said slap that baby and make him pee.
Okay, I got to disagree with you guys. Yeah, Big D, Magic Dance is the best part of this movie, and the goblins are having a great time. And I was thinking the whole time, they're like, well, if he doesn't, if you don't find him in 13 hours, then he's going to become a goblin forever. I was like, fuck, if I was a little boy, I would want to grow up to be a goblin. The goblins are having the best fucking time. They party all day long. They're always laughing. They're having a blast. I just don't understand what's the problem with being a goblin.
That scene where he throws baby Toby in the air and it just switches to a baby doll like mid-throw. Raj is over here laughing so hard he started choking. I thought he was going to fucking vomit in the front row.
I completely forgot. They're throwing Toby up.
The one scene they had a fake baby.
Yeah, and that's why you don't have food and alcohol served at the theater, Raj, because you'd be at your studio movie grill barfing everywhere.
It's just a flailing baby. It's so terrible. But it's not just the bad babies. The exposition is pretty terrible.
No, and again, I'm trying to, I want to give this movie a chance because a lot of people seem to love it. I don't get it. I really don't. I understand Jennifer, this is her first movie, but the exposition, she's walking, she notices, like, for example, on the ground when she's writing on the stones, and the stones are getting picked up and moved to help her get lost. We all see the stones, Jennifer, Sarah. We see them moving. She goes, oh, the stones are moving. Yes, Sarah, we see the stones moving. Let's go, feet. I will go over there and open that door. Yes, we just fucking watched you walk over there and open the door. I didn't need the hand holding.
It's almost as if Sarah is a bad improv actress that like just makes up her own plays in her mind and acts them out in fields.
It's not fair.
It's a talking mime. If the mime was doing like that imaginary glass box, I'm trapped in a glass box. I'm touching the walls.
You obviously haven't seen bad improv. But like this is also preparing Sarah for some real life things that might happen to her later on in life.
So there are some dark undertones to this movie, and I understand it's a journey of a young girl into womanhood, and she's going to learn along the way. I want to know what lesson they're teaching her when she falls through the trap door, and it's I think, what do they call it? Is like the groping hands is what I call it.
The helping hands. The
Helping
hands.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
so
I mean, that's like a marketing term for it because those definitely look like groping hands to me.
The helping hands are all over her, and she's like, "Stop it, you're hurting me." And the hands just reassure her, "We're helping hands. We're helping hands. What do you want us to do?" And, you know, with everything that's come out recently about Hollywood, we now understand how they're trying to help Jennifer's career.
This is her Me Too movement, right? She sort of like no means no.
Yeah, and they give her the offer. Do you want to go down or do you want to go up?
Where do you want it, baby? Stop it, you're hurting me. We're the helping hands.
I liked
used
the
that
helping
line.
hands. I thought it was done beautifully. I thought all of those latex hands and all that puppeteering, and when they make the faces and start talking with them, you guys are turning it into something dirty.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Kerri. The characters in this movie look delightful. The helping hands, the helping hands are very creative. The worm, Hoggle, Ludo, they all have that classic, Jim Henson charm to them. And I was doing some research because I was like, that Ludo especially could not have been easy to pull off. And so I looked into it. The costume alone, the puppet alone, weighed 75 pounds and required 2 puppeteers. Again, it's just hard to imagine that all this stuff had to be done practically. There was, aside from the owl, apparently there was no CGI.
Yeah, the character of Hoggle is actually played by a female dwarf. And then the words were done by Jim Henson's son. And then the face is an animatronic robot / puppet. And it took 4 people to animate his face. So it was like 6 people doing one character. I can't imagine trying to have all that synchronized for one scene.
Yeah, so maybe if you guys could get over your fears of pedophilia, you could actually appreciate the fact that this movie was artfully done.
Well, this is one of the things that makes me sad that I live so far away from you guys. If you were down in the Southeast, I think we could do a road trip. Does anybody know where Hoggle is today?
Where's Hoggle?
Hoggle is in the Alabama Museum of Unclaimed Baggage in Scottsboro, Alabama. Apparently, he was being transported sometime during the 90s. No one claimed him. The baggage handlers open up the box. They see Hoggle. He then goes to auction. So he is now sitting in the Alabama Museum of Unclaimed Baggage. And if anybody wants to come take a road trip with me, I want to go see Hoggle.
I don't understand. Like, who loses Hoggle? How do you lose a Hoggle?
How can he be unclaimed? Couldn't they be like, here's this fucking film with him in it proving that we own him?
If only we knew where this character came from.
He looks familiar.
Where have I seen this guy before?
Well, remember, Labyrinth only made $12 million in theaters.
Apparently, not a lot of people seen him.
Well, you talk about the delightful characters, Gene. I feel like the worm is the best damn part of this movie.
Hello.
It's charming. It's funny. It's kind of has that Dory vibe where she can't remember. She doesn't really know.
No, fuck that worm.
she
He could have
forgets.
sent her directly to the castle.
Oh, he's like, or you could use this doll right here.
Roger, you realize that was a man, correct?
Yeah, but that's how he talks. Oh, you have this doll right
okay,
here.
because you said she. Yeah, he's.
It's a he, it's a she. It's a dreamland where everyone can be whatever they want. But like outside of the worm, I feel like each character was representative of a woman's journey into, or a girl's journey into womanhood.
Why is this a fucking women's journey? As soon as we got out of the theater,
That's what it is.
as soon as we got out of the theater, Roger was like, "Do you think Ludo represents her period?" And this is my little sister's like, "What?"
Not her period, her menstruation cycle. Like it's
Same thing.
well, that's her. That's her.
He's
becoming
big.
a woman.
He's red.
Yeah, he's big. He's
red.
red. He's like, oh, smell bad. Has horns.
Smell bad.
One of these days, Roger's going to discover F. Scott Fitzgerald. He's going to be like, holy shit, everything symbolizes something. His head's going to fucking explode. Yeah, Roger, sometimes it's just a dwarf.
Yeah, but like, okay, so like we were first introduced to Hoggle. He's peeing in a pond. Is that supposed to be funny? Is this the comedy of Henson? He's supposed to be kind of the comic relief, if you will, because he's ugly and he's short. I feel like he represents the ugly friend who's perennially in the friend zone.
There is a concept called the hero's journey, and in it, it's basically the concept that most Pixar movies are based after. You have somebody who's doing the same thing every day until one day something changes, and as a result of that, another thing changes until finally their life changes. And I think that's what they're trying to represent. This is Hoggle's idyllic life. He walks around the labyrinth. He takes a piss in a pond. He's a very chill dude at the beginning, and then all these things happen to him that changes his entire makeup.
All right, well, I did fall into, because I did try to do some research on this. So
on Reddit,
not just on Reddit, on other places as well, but mostly Reddit. So if you notice, this was pointed out on Hoggle's jacket while he's peeing into the pond, there's a face on his back. So does this represent that he's two-faced? Because it's
literally a movie about puppets. That's it.
No, but he's two-faced. It's because he, at the, like, spoiler alert, like he tricks her. He like betrays her. So it could be an obvious thing that she doesn't understand that this guy who is a two-faced individual is going to betray her. In addition, Hoggle, which by the way is a slang term for betrayal.
It's a slang term? Yeah, I've never heard
a hoggle. It's a slang term for betrayal. It also could invoke the two-faced Roman god of thresholds, Janus. And indeed, Hoggle is that gatekeeper who shows Sarah the door and how to open it. This is an example, according to this thread that I read, an example of layered symbolism that allows Labyrinth to hold up in adult eyes.
Oh, okay. I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to go near the two-faced god, but I think Roger is onto something. They touch on that friend motif with him a couple times.
Friend.
Just no. The friend of, we're talking Hoggle. So the Goblin King says, why would she be friends with someone who looks like you?
Right.
He makes a comment about, you want to be my friend? And even later on, when there's a reference to if she kisses him, that he's going to be punished. So there is a little subtext there that Hoggle could be seen as that less than attractive potential mate of Sarah. It's not crazy.
Yeah, and Sir Didymus is the gay friend, the gay best friend.
I'd just like to take a second to plug Janus Motorcycles out of Elkhart, Indiana. This is my friend's motorcycle brand. Check them out if you're looking for custom-made small engine motorcycles. Janus Motorcycles.
Well, Hoggle encounters Jareth, who gives him a drugged peach and instructs him to give it to Sarah. Sarah's then assaulted by a group of creature called Fireys with detachable body parts who try to remove her head, but Hoggle comes to her aid. She kisses him, and Jareth magically sends them to the Bog of Eternal Stench as punishment, where they reunite with Ludo. Sarah, Hoggle, and Ludo meet a guard of the bridge out of the swamp named Sir Didymus and his old English sheepdog named Ambrosius. Didymus then joins the group.
Okay, so I'm going to assume that most of our listening audience has not watched this movie in, let's say, 20 years, 25 years, somewhere along that line. So I want to refresh again. When something is so powerful that we can't convey the true feeling or sentiment of the scene, I want to play to you, unedited, a segment from the middle of the Bog of Eternal Stench, which is obviously what we're led to believe, that smelling bad is a young girl's worst possible punishment. But I'm just going to play for you here a 30-second clip, and then we'll come back.
Careful, Ludo.
Sir Ludo, wait for me. Oh, Ambrosius. It's all right, Ambrosius. You can come out now. Come on, Ambrosius. Just close your eyes and go.
Let's get out of here.
So that is the the Bog of Eternal Stench. What the fuck are they doing?
My notes from the movie, which we saw like over a month and a half ago, just say...
Yeah, go ahead. Take your time.
So obviously these fart jokes work because look at her.
This,
My notes just say gaping butthole, but I don't know who said that. I'm assuming it was Raj, but I have in quotes that someone in the front row said gaping butthole.
I'm pretty sure that's King B.
The
I don't think I would say gaping butthole.
The entire theater was like in tears laughing. A fart joke it never gets old.
yeah, I've never found fart jokes funny, but I could not stop laughing during the Bog of Eternal Stench.
When he's hopping on the rocks.
Yeah, it's a cheap joke, but yeah, every time he hits a rock, he's skipping. And there were like different registers of fart. Like I felt like it was one fart from each of my family members or something like that. And then those visuals of the bog bubbling, it was just perfect.
Can I just, a side note, tell you guys a story? So some days at my work, I have to wake people up from their colonoscopies. And it's like the worst day that I have to work there because I have the sense of humor of a 12-year-old boy, and farts, even as a nurse, like make me laugh. And my patients can't go home until they pass gas. We have to make sure all the air comes out of their colon. And so I've got curtain of like 12 people, and it's like the Bog of Stench. Like it's just like, and then I get to send them home.
How do you coax them to pass wind?
Verbally first, and then if they don't, I tell them I have to put their knees into their chest and like force.
So you like coax them to fart?
And then if they can't, I have to get them up and walk them around. Like you could perforate your bowels if you don't let that gas out.
Let me ask you a question. So in relation, you've been in relationships before with people, right?
Yes.
Okay. At what point do you allow
Never.
farts to start to happen?
Never. My ex-husband never once farted in front of me.
He never farted in front of you? Really?
No.
So even though you find farts funny, you don't want people to fart in front of you, even like in a relationship, like kind of. Funny.
Oh, but she does it in a professional, clinical situation.
Yeah, no, but like in your personal life, like you don't like you're at home watching Netflix and then like he farts and you're like,
No,
No.
You don't fart in front of your wife, Big D.
No, you kidding me? It's one of the most traumatic experience. Well, again, I'll just use my wife. When you're going through the process of labor, many times when you're pushing and you have an epidural, women can't tell whether they're pushing out a child or excrement. So a lot of times the delivery room turns into a mess. It's a very embarrassing moment. But other than that, no, we do not share any type of excrement or flatulence.
Gene, are you flatulent in front of your significant others?
Never.
Really?
It's just
I'm the only one?
I excuse myself to the restroom, and I've actually had people like on dates or just hanging out in bed, and I go to the restroom and come back and they go, well, you weren't gone very long. What'd you do in there? I'm like, do you really need to know?
I think it's respectful.
Yeah, it's. Yeah,
You think it's like I
don't even burp in front of people.
That's crazy. I think farting is fun. I enjoy it.
I'm not going to shame you, but I mean, I am a nurse. It's like a human function, but
Yeah.
I'd prefer that the person I want to be intimate with is not farting all the time.
I don't know. Call in. Listen. Write us.
Write us.
Host
Send a
at Shat
poll.
on TV. I'm sorry. Host at Shat the Movies.
I do want to
if
point
you
out
enjoy
there's
farting.
no shame in a queef.
Like during intercourse or
When else are people queefing?
I don't know. There's
Careful, Ludo.
During space travel? Like what?
yeah.
During atmospheric
This
re-entry?
whole movie is symbolic of her growing up. It's her period. It's her no. It's about queefing.
I think queefs are even more funny than farts. I find them endearing.
Yeah, as much as queefing and farting really isn't doing much to elevate the movie, I think the character of Sir Didymus is one of the highlights for me. I think a lot of the characters early on don't look that strong as far as puppets. Henson's done some amazing work on The Muppet Show, Fraggle Rock. I wasn't too blown away until the character of Sir Didymus comes riding in on Ambrosia. He's got the little saddle, and it reminds me so much. In case you guys don't know, Roger is the type of adult man who, when the holidays comes around, he chooses to dress his little puppies in their little holiday sweater. They have a scarf. If it's Halloween, they dress up. And if anybody has seen also the Halloween costume of the dog, and it looks like you put the shirt on him, and it makes it look like your little dog is being ridden by some kind of creature. That's what Roger would do, and that's what Sir Didymus reminded me of.
Yeah, no, Albert and Pippa definitely won a Halloween contest with those on. Pippa wore one like a jockey. She had like a little jockey on her. And then Albie wore one with like a little bull rider. So that like the guy's like, He's got like the little hand in his hair is up here. Yeah, that was 2014 when they won the Halloween contest.
Juniper, my dog, wears a GPS collar that tracks her activity. We're
Which is pretty much
also
laying
very
on the floor.
festive.
So, Gene, do you think working in the shelter that maybe if you dressed your dogs up, like with bow ties or scarves, it would help them get adopted quicker?
Yeah, we actually have a program called the Shelter Art Project, and what we do is we dress up the dogs and photograph them with like studio quality cameras, and it definitely boosts rates because people are idiots.
Do you think that would also help the adoption rate for humans?
If they just, all the kids that are up for adoption were dressed like little rodeo cowboys.
Yeah, no, like
Sir Didymus.
well, no, you put like a little thing on it, and it looks like a little rodeo guy is riding them. No, like you dress them up in like little, like you could have different themes. You have like a sports theme. You could have like a guy's like a little investment banker with a little bow tie and a briefcase. One guy, little kid's a firefighter.
I mean, if they really wanted to boost adoption rates, they could just dress them up as white kids.
Ooh. Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
So anyway, back to Sir Didymus.
Wow. Woo. Woo.
I just want to plug that my parents went to China for my sister.
That is true. But
It's cheaper there.
God, I was going to go back.
It was not.
I was going to go back to a question about shelters, but I want to stay away from Gene. I'm afraid of him right now.
Do you know that there's set? I don't know. Listen, I don't want to get all. No, I'm not going to say it.
Gene,
Yeah,
fine.
let's
I want to ask this though. Seriously, it's going to sound fucked up, but I think it would work. Okay, I want to run an idea about the shelters here. Like you said, people are dumb. People want to, like, if there's a dog rescued in a well and you put it on the news, 1,000 people want to adopt that dog. What if you had a clock in each one of the bins or each one of the areas that the dogs are held that counts down to the minute that you will euthanize the dog? People come in, they see the dog and say, shit, that dog's kind of cute, but the ugly dog, he's going to be put down in 4 hours. Would that work?
Yeah, so 3 things to say about that. One is I volunteered at no-kill shelters, so they don't euthanize dogs. Not that I look down on euthanization. I think that it's a necessary part of overcrowding, unfortunately. 2, it is regularly done at shelters now on social media where they will say, these dogs, we are overcrowding, we will have to put them down. And it does help boost adoption rates. People will respond to that. But I also have seen people who come in and they specifically want a dog or a cat that's missing a limb or has had some sort of tragic story when there's another dog that needs a home just as badly and they won't take them. So like I've had people come in and go, do you have any tripods? I go, no. Okay, thanks. Well, I've got these other 100 dogs. Nah, I'm looking for a tripod.
Is that like a hipster dog owner fetish now? Like are people fetishizing dogs missing limbs?
My cat is a tripod, but it cost me $4,000.
Yeah, but like, why would you pay $4,000 for a tripod?
Well, his leg was all shattered and dangling, but
Yeah, but like, there's other.
Raj, the amputation costs $4,000.
Oh, the amputation.
yeah.
Oh.
The cat.
I didn't go, oh, this shelter doesn't have one. This shelter
I don't know.
doesn't have one.
I didn't know if there were like.
I'm paying for it on the black market. I paid $4,000 for a 3-legged cat.
Listen, I don't know what goes on in the hipster goth lifestyle. I don't understand those things. I mean, you're watching Labyrinth. You're buying black market tripod cats. You know, it's a whole thing.
Next up on Shat the Movies, Kitty Hostel.
How about that ambrosia?
So my mind was blown. My world was turned upside down by this Sir Didymus character because, and not specifically him, but Ambrosius, the dog. Did anybody else notice that Ambrosius sometimes was an actual dog and then sometimes was a puppet? Did you guys catch that?
Yeah.
No,
It's her dog also. I read that they picked a sheepdog because his like texture was the easiest to duplicate in puppet form. Like had they done like a hairless dog or, some, I don't know, greyhound, it would be obviously fake.
At this point, you're just trying to show off. Why the hell? You have a living dog. Why are you making a puppet of a living dog? You didn't have, living goblins, but we have a living dog. Let's just go with the dog.
I think there were certain times that Ambrosius was asked to emote in certain ways, and I guess maybe that's why they had to make it a puppet. But what made me confused is a couple things about Ambrosius. One is Sir Didymus is a dog, and he's riding a dog, which doesn't make sense. And Sir Didymus can talk, and Ambrosius can understand speech, but can't talk himself. And then more importantly, Sir Didymus can't smell the bog, but Ambrosius, can he smell the bog?
Well, it's like Goofy can talk, and he's a dog. Pluto is Mickey's dog, but can't talk, and he's also dating a cow. I think Goofy's the most advanced Walt Disney character. Like he's very progressive.
He's definitely the best character in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
But as far as talking about having a puppet dog, sure, it looked good. I didn't even pick up on it. But I started to get the vibe that there were scenes that were only added to the movie and structured in a way to show off, hey, look what we can do with puppetry. That chill down song with the heads that they were, throwing around like basketballs, it was to me nothing more than just to throw a scene in with a really bad song, just to do what they do on an average episode of Sesame Street.
So you're telling me that a movie made with puppets shouldn't showcase the art of puppetry?
No, but
that was just, it wasn't necessary. It was just like a added thing in there that was like, we could do without these creepy ass head swapping.
Hold on. Chilly Down is not a good song, is what you're trying to tell me?
Okay, so here, I knew you were going to say that, Roger. I knew you were going to say that, Gene. So give me a second here. I'm going to play you the first 45 seconds, and we're going to let the audience decide. Just hold on.
Let's can we cut that down to 15?
Yeah, 15. Here we go.
Okay.
So this is Gene's description of a really good song.
What's going on? What do you want?
They're on LSD. That's what they're on.
It sounds like they're tuning their instruments.
Okay, so every great rock song or every great pop song has to have that hook, that thing that gets you. And Chilly Down, although it starts off weird because it's part of a Muppet movie, it gets to this beautiful piano chord that plays repetitively through the hook. And it's one of the most gorgeous chord structures that I've heard out of a Bowie song. And it strikes up chords of nostalgia, no pun intended. It's a beautiful song. And also there's some riffing in there lyrically, where there's laughter in the song that is absolutely genuine, and it makes me laugh every time. You got to appreciate Chilly Down. If you don't, I'm sorry. I feel bad for you.
Okay, but let's look at the context of what's happening in the movie alongside the lyrics of this song, Chilling Down. Jareth, the Goblin King, has handed a poison peach to Hoggle to give to Sarah to drug her so he could pull a Stanford Cosby. Chilling down means, hey, take this and chill down so I can date rape you.
Date rapey down.
Yeah, date rapey down. Yeah, Jareth is doing everything. He's trapping her in a place where she's going to forget about things. He's using violence with the Queeg. Is it the Keegnor? It's like a horrible circular thing with the blades, which he uses to scare the hell.
No, that's the cleaner. That's the cleaner.
Yeah, but I think it's called the Keegnor. And of course he's trying to drug her. In short, there's nothing this dude won't get to rape Sarah.
Chilly Down isn't about Jareth. It's not about Sarah. It's about this gang, the Fireys. They're talking about their lifestyle, right? They got no problems. They got no suitcase. They got no real estate or jewelry or gold mines to hang them up. They're just having a good ass time being Fireys. And again, it's the juxtaposition of being fiery and chilly down. Not chilling down, but chilly down.
They're also trying to take her head off.
Yeah, they're having a good time. They throw their own body parts around.
For the record, Gene finds taking heads off as a good time.
Drive you crazy, really lazy, eyes rolling, funky strolling, ball playing, hips swaying, trouble making, booty shaking, tripping, passing, jumping, bouncing, diving, styling, creeping, pouncing, shouting, screaming, double dealing, rock and rolling, and reeling.
I could just picture Bowie sitting at a table being like, all right, I'm writing the soundtrack for this film. I got to come up with a fucking 7th song. Here we go. Chilly Down.
And again, the final line with that Mackin sex appeal. This is a kid's movie.
Woo.
Well, after the group gets hungry, Hoggle gives Sarah the poison peach and then runs away after she falls and chills down into a trance and begins to lose her memories. She has a dream where Jareth comes to her at the masquerade ball proclaiming his love for her, but she begins to remember and escapes falling into a junkyard. After an old junk lady fails to brainwash her, her memory is jogged and she is rescued by Ludo and Didymus, and they are right outside the Goblin City near Jareth's castle. They are confronted by the gate guard, but Hoggle bravely comes to their rescue. Despite his feeling unworthy of forgiveness for his betrayal, Sarah and the others welcome him back and they enter the city together.
Now, I know everyone's eager to talk about this masquerade ball because it is perhaps the most disturbing part of the entire movie, but
Perhaps.
I just want to get some housekeeping out of the way and say Hoggle can fuck off. I understand that forgiveness is Sarah's thing, but this guy fucking gave her drugged fruit. Like, I just don't like Hoggle at all. I've decided at this point in the movie, I'm done with him.
I'm not victim blaming, but
come on.
But Sarah's also a bitch. Like, she left her dog outside. She hates her stepmom. She's late. She's a terrible babysitter. This whole movie's about her. Poor me. It's not fair. Like, she kind of sucks too. I mean, I'm not saying she's deserving of rape.
You just said she was deserving of it because she left her dog outside.
No, I'm just saying she's also an asshole. Hoggle's an asshole, but so is Sarah. Okay,
listen. This entire courtship of Sarah by Jareth is creepy as fuck. It's downright terrible, okay? The filmmakers here, and we'll say it's Lucas and Hansen, they're suggesting, and they're giving a hint at romance between Sarah, who's supposed to be 15, 16, and Jareth, an adult man in his 40s, let alone just the romance. There's also a prospect of marriage. You know, there's plenty of places around the world where that's illegal. And then you top it off with that roofie-laden peach, and a peach is a sexually suggestive fruit to begin with. How is nobody on set questioning this?
Yeah, can we talk about the peach emoji? Like, that's one of my favorite emojis when I'm definitely trying to, like, flirt with Megan. I'm like, peach, zucchini, 3 droplets of water, question mark.
That's an eggplant.
You know, Raj, I don't want to really talk about emojis. It's sort of beneath us. I want to talk about the name Sarah because, as everyone knows, Sarah is Hebrew for princess. So she is destined to be with the Goblin King. And it's ridiculous for you to think that her destiny would lead to any other place.
But it's not just the peach emojis, though. That it's also throughout that whole masquerade ball, all the sexual innuendos that's happening. It's like straight out of Eyes Wide Shut.
My notes from the theater literally say, what kind of statutory rape ball is this? It's like Eyes Wide Shut with 15-year-olds.
Yeah, there's phalluses everywhere. So there's obviously Jareth's pants, that huge codpiece, which is, ever present. There's a scene where Hoggle drops to his knees begging for forgiveness, and the camera is doing an upshot where you're seeing
we got it. Yeah, we got the
head.
upshot. We were all in the front row.
Yeah, so then you have also those crystal balls that Jareth is always playing with that are very suggestive. He's got that scepter. And then during that creepy-ass Eyes Wide Shut ball you guys are talking about, in the song Underground, there's a reference to love injection. Come on. And then all of the masks, you can make them look like the typical masquerade ball mask. But there's a couple. Roger has a photo that he has to tweet. The nose looks like a giant kielbasa. It is so suggestive. And they have someone like grabbing it. This movie went above and beyond. I think Kubrick shot this scene.
He's giving a hand job to that phallic nose, to that kielbasa nose. It's a little hook nose. It kind of curves down. That happens to some guys. Some guys have curves, but this guy is totally stroking his big giant nose, like just looking at Sarah going, "Oh, you like this, don't you? You little 15-year-old goblin queen."
Yeah. And they dress her up and do the makeup. She looks very adult with the blush, and the other women in the scene that are trying to get the attention of the Goblin King, they're making faces at her and seeing her as a sexual threat to them. Where did this movie just go off the rails?
I wonder how many Labyrinth inspired pornos there are.
None.
Yeah, you don't need one. You just watch Labyrinth.
Yeah,
you don't need a porn spinoff.
This is definitely softcore porn for like the Jared Fogels of the world, right?
It is so bad, but there is a scene during this block that I really did love, and I am going to take half a wipe off of my score because of it. I think in a movie that is a mess narratively, and really the message is not clear, whatever they're trying to convey about a coming of age story. There is, however, that one gem in the movie where Sarah thinks she's gone back to the real world. And she's led there by the pile of garbage, which again, Fraggle Rock, it looks like the trash heap, takes her back to her room, and she starts piling on all the trappings of a child, her dolls, the ballerina box, and starts physically piling them onto Sarah. And Sarah realizes, hey, these things are weighing me down. They really don't mean anything to me. I have to let them go. And she's talking about the trappings of a child. But for me as an adult, I want to purge stuff every couple months because my parents were collectors and they have tons and tons of stuff. They're not hoarders, but I hate that. And the fact that this movie had some insight and really went that next level to talk about materialism and how it can affect you and weigh you down, in the end, I'm taking a half wipe off my score because of this one scene.
Oh, well, my mom was definitely a hoarder. Like the TV show Hoarders were climbing over stuff to like get down the hallway. Definitely fire hazard. So seeing that, I was like, oh, my mom's that lady.
Is she still like that?
Yeah. And because of her being like that, I'm like a compulsive purger and can't have things. I don't want things.
Yeah, I went the other way.
Yeah, Roger's a hoarder.
I'm not a hoarder. I'm a collector, although I have gotten better.
Yeah,
that's what hoarders say.
That's what hoarders say.
That's literally what hoarders say.
I've gotten better. Like,
I'm going to post the video that I took.
Listen, everyone knows I collect shit.
As a witness, I have been over here when Roger purged at least 100 T-shirts.
Yeah.
He is in the active process of slimming down his stockpile of everything.
To get more things.
Although immediately after that, we went to a soccer match and he went straight to the team shop and started shopping.
I had to reward myself. I had to get a couple. I only got things that I needed. Anyway, Jareth is alerted to their presence and sends his goblin army to stop them, but Ludo howls and summons a mountain's worth of rocks to chase the guards away, and they enter the castle. Sarah insists she must face Jareth alone and promises to call the others if needed. In a room modeled after a Escher staircase drawing, she confronts Jareth while trying to retrieve Toby. She recites the lines from her play that mirror her adventure to that point, but she still cannot remember the last line. As Jareth begs her to fear him, love him, and obey him, promising he will love her and give her everything she wants, she remembers the line, "You have no power over me." Defeated at the last second, Jareth returns Sarah and Toby home safely and then turns into a barn owl, flying away.
All right, guys, I'm going to sound like a broken record here. But Within You, the song that plays during the Escher scene, it goes on for far too long. It's like, oh, isn't this trippy? We're going this way. Now we're going that way. We're upside down. But that song, Within You, is amazing. And there's this classic line in there that's like, your eyes can be so cruel just as I can be so cruel. This is Jareth kind of turning on the pain there. And he says, I can live without the sunlight, love without your heartbeat, but I can't live within you. And I know that you guys are going to take it in a sexual way. I can't live within you, like be inside you. But he's just talking about this is the death of Jareth or the downfall of Jareth inside her.
You're a pervert. Why would you think your mind is in the gutter? You thought that was him like being sexually ugh.
Why? Also, queefing is cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, like, I enjoy the idea of female empowerment that's happening here. Like, if this truly is a movie and Toby's symbolic of her losing her innocence to this, date rapey dude who, is doing everything he can to try and get inside her and love her. But at this point, I'm done with this fucking movie because this, like you said, goes on for way too long. I'm exhausted. I don't care about Toby. I want Toby to fall and die. I hated this part.
The battle scene should be the culmination, but it's comical. The way that it is incoherently structured and edited, you couldn't tell where anyone was. The sky, first of all, looked comically bad. They had the set looking kind of, again, Fraggle Rock is cool, but I don't know where anyone was. There's different sized goblins that are surrounding people. 2 seconds later, Luda's ripping the side of a building off. It was terrible.
I'm sorry, you wanted a tactically correct battle between Muppets is what you're looking for?
No, I wanted say it was Sir Dudamus. He's running down the street.
Sir Dudamus.
We can't go
he's
one
like the more
recording.
chilled out brother of Didymus.
We can't go one fucking
Like,
recording without Big D botching someone's. It's
Sir Dudamus. I'm going to call you Sir Dudamus from now on.
Okay, so Sir Didymus, he's riding down the street, right? The next cut, you see, he's surrounded. Then they cut to a scene where he's running down the street. It was just incoherent. I don't want it to be tactical. I don't care that they're laying down suppressive fire and they have Overwatch, but just make the editing seamless.
Yeah, two things, Big D. One, this made more sense than half of the battles on Westworld Season 2. Second, I understand that you were in the airborne and didn't really see combat, but from my Air Force Junior ROTC experience, I can tell you that war is hell. It gets crazy and things don't always make sense. It's disorienting.
Also, this is a child's movie, okay? We can't have them slaughtering each other. Only rape.
I mean, we're lucky we didn't just see hands holding the puppets and mushing them together going
and farting.
No, that's pretty much what we saw. That's exactly what we saw.
That's exactly what was on screen.
Okay, but while you saw a mess, I saw this battle scene display the meticulous work that went into this movie. There was loads of creativity on display, like the cavalry, the automatons, the cannons, everything had character and personality, even if it was on screen for just a second. And I felt like you said, with Ludo popping out of the top of the building and stuff, like the fact that you had to make all these things to scale and make scale versions of everything so that you can get these sweeping shots. I was very impressed by it. I thought you could feel the love that went into this movie.
Was this also where nerds first fell in love with owls?
No.
You have owls with David Bowie and then Harry Potter. There's owls everywhere.
And actually, if you go back further, Merlin had the owl and the sword and the stone, or Archimedes. And that was I think the first time where people were like, oh shit, owls are cool.
Owls are fucking cool.
Yeah. Well, realizing how important Toby is to her, Sarah gives him her favorite toy and returns to her room. After she hears her father and her stepmother come in, she sees her friends in the mirror and realizes even though she is growing up, she still needs them in her life every now and again. In an instant, a number of the major characters from the Labyrinth appear in her room for a raucous celebration, and she reunites with Hoggle, Ludo, Sir Didymus, and Ambrosius. As they celebrate, Jareth, in his owl form, watches from outside and then flies away into the night.
The only thing that I can really, in my head, that I can wrap around and make this possible is that at some point during Sarah's role-playing early in the movie, she just decided to drop acid. She was going to maybe do acid would have taken too long, so she did mushrooms. She wanted to enhance her cosplay, her role playing, which she was reading, because this is some crazy shit. It goes not just one or two characters. It's a full birthday party and all the characters there. Her parents are probably hearing just Sarah. Hey guys, yeah, woo, I need you. Huh? Aren't the parents like, Sarah, who's in there? What is she doing?
Yeah,
It's
girls play with
make-believe.
toys. Yeah, it's fun. Listen, I wanted to join her because the fucking movie was over. I was like, yes, finally, we're done. I'm out.
That was a celebration.
That was a celebration. That's right.
We got to see everybody, so it was a true ensemble ending.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my dreams often have ensemble endings, so I love them in movies. And I like at the end of all the fighting and at the end of all the horrors and everything, everyone comes back together and it's just like a big play and everyone's okay. And it leaves you with a warm, feeling about the movie. I don't know. I liked seeing everybody one last time.
Was Toby her half brother?
Yeah.
So that's from the dad's current marriage. That's not okay.
Where did you get that from?
They never say that he's her half brother.
If that's her stepmother and that is a baby, I'm assuming.
Yeah, but maybe he had the baby.
He got married within the 6 months of his wife dying.
Yeah, maybe he was having an affair with the mistress on the side like that, and that became his stepmother, which is why she hates her.
Was that in the novelization of this movie?
It's going to be in the prequel.
The prequel is the story of her father and her stepmother.
Yeah.
And David Bowie.
Well,
So
can we ask this,
conclusions-
why does the stepmother want her to date? Is she trying to... Most parents don't want their young children.
Right.
Because she's singing fucking songs by herself in her bedroom, talking to herself. Maybe she got a fucking boyfriend.
Yeah, that makes sense. She's trying to help her out, actually. We think she has just terrible intent.
No, she's like, all you do is dress in pirate costumes and talk to yourself out in the fucking park. You're embarrassing me. Get a boyfriend.
And play with phallic masks.
If your daughter did that at 16, what would you do, Big D?
Fuck. God, that's as I'm watching this movie, I'm thinking that. I really was. First of all, I thought, what happens if my daughter at that age turns into that difficult child that she is? That's a bigger concern for me than her up in her room, having a ruckus party with imaginary friends. I don't know what I would do at that point. I'm dreading that idea because she's so cool right now.
Are you going to show her this movie when she's old enough?
Old enough? What, 24? Yes.
That's what I'm saying. It's a kid's movie, but
Yeah. Yeah, when she has a child of her own or she's married, yeah, we'll sit down and watch this.
All right. So in conclusion, Sarah's a terrible big sister and an even worse babysitter, and puppets are cool.
Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up.
Case
The
closed.
end.
Well, now's the time where we break out their Shat meter and give you our wipe scores. If you've never listened to the podcast before, Zero Wipes is a perfect movie. It's a perfect puppeteering adventure into a magical imaginary place where you learn a fable of moving from child into adulthood, and everything ends happily with you and your friends at the end. A 5 wipe is being down in the bog of stench with a giant red monster and a dog riding another dog, and this little dwarf ugly man, and
Trying to
and just
roofie
everything
you.
smells. Yeah, you got poison peaches. It's just a mess down there. So 0 wipes is good, 5 wipes is bad. We'll start with you, Kerri. How many wipes do you give Labyrinth?
Well, I think Labyrinth is to me what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is to you, and what Goonies might be for Gene. There's so much nostalgia associated with it for me. Like, I have so many memories. I mean, literally it was playing all fucking day long at my house that it'll always hold a special part. I'm definitely, if I ever breed, will show my children this movie. But do I want to watch it again? No. Like, I could easily just listen to the soundtrack and feel the nostalgia. But I do want to give it a good score, thinking that, Jim Henson died before knowing about the cult following. Like, he thought it was such a flop. So I give it a 2.5. I could give it a half a point better, but the chili down is the fucking worst scene and has nothing to do with the movie. So it's a 2.5.
Gene, how many wipes?
So if David Bowie had done all the music in this movie and not involved Trevor Jones, this would be an amazing 90-minute music video. The passion and care that went into making it was phenomenal. And I feel like Labyrinth is like nothing we'll ever see again. Movies like this just aren't made anymore. You can't throw a baby around or have a Goblin King covet a young girl. And there's just a bizarreness to that I adore, that the movie didn't quite make sense, but it still worked out. But overall, I got to say the movie is a snore. It's surprisingly dragged for being so short at just an hour and a half. The jokes mostly fell flat, and the score that Trevor Jones did is surprisingly awful. There's a lot of droning synth that just doesn't work out. So for me, it's I hate to say this, but just below average. I say this is about a 3 wipe movie.
Okay, this is going to be an easy one for me. Without a doubt, this was going to be a 5. Hands down. But I'm going to take that half wipe off because of the trash heap scene. So I'm going to go 4.5. It was the least enjoyable movie I've watched out of all of them. We've seen plenty of bad movies. Willow, we have, what else at the bottom there? Speed 2, Showgirls, Predator 2.
Blade Runner.
All of those, we'll talk offline, Kerri, about Blade Runner. I watched 2049. I have a different take. But those movies at least had something that I got joy out of watching. This movie had nothing. Gene says, it was a glorious to watch. It was a masterpiece. I thought it was lazy and uninspired. It made me angry. I didn't want to sit through it and watch it. I think that Lucas, again, possibly had a hand in killing poor Jim Henson with this movie. The inappropriate relationship between the characters, it was bad. There's a reason it bombed at the box office. A lot of times we question why something failed. This failed because it's a bad movie. Just because we loved it as a kid doesn't change that. And for that, it's a 4.5.
I think the only thing that I respected about this movie was the puppetry. I'm going to have to agree with Gene here. The monumental feat that Henson and his creative team took to bring all this to life, it's never going to happen again. Everything's going to be CGI and animated, and I think you just lose something that is endearing about it, which is why they brought back practical effects for the new Star Wars film. That being said, in my quest to be the least hated host on Shat the Movies, I posted a poll on Twitter, and I'm going to base my entire wipe score, my opinion on this movie, on the vote of people who follow us on Twitter. So democracy and human surveys work, in my opinion. With 59 people voting over a 24-hour period, 61% said it was a 5 wipe movie. 61%. Now, I'm not sure if they understand the wipe score or not, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say...
This is why democracy doesn't work.
I'm going to agree with the
people. They vote,
people.
but we're not sure they understand how it fucking works.
I gave them 2 choices, 0 or 5. So therefore, I'm rating this movie 5 wipes. The people have spoken. That being said, if we add up all the scores, Gene, what does that give us?
All the scores added up and averaged out, this is a 3.75 wipe movie.
Big D, where does that put it in the pantheon of Shat movies we've reviewed thus far?
So this is movie number 75. So we've hit a milestone there, and it is 3.75, you said?
3.75.
At 3.75, that is now the 59th movie. It is slightly better than The Last Starfighter and worse than Porky's.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But here's a kicker. Here's a kicker. It's better than A Christmas Story and Blade Runner.
It's I think A Christmas Story is better than this.
Oh no.
I'd watch A Christmas Story again before I'd watch Blade Runner.
You guys are killing me.
So Kerri, listen. I think this is fair because if anybody checks out our artwork, we've added you because you're now part of the family. I've started about a week ago where I was averaging out all of the regular hosts, and then if it's a guest into the scoring to help balance it out. There is a blank spot next to Kerri Gross for Blade Runner. I'm going to give you an offer here, an olive branch.
Yep. It's a 0 wipe.
No, you see, you're fucking, why are you, listen to me, you're fucking with my offer. Just, can you wait for 2 seconds, Sarah? Sarah?
It's not fair.
Sarah, go watch fucking Toby. Okay. If you will sit down and watch Blade Runner and give me an honest assessment, I think we can add your score to Blade Runner. What do you guys think?
You want me to record?
No, I just want you to watch it. Sit down, watch it now.
I have seen it.
No, when's the last time?
1,000 times.
When's the last time?
I watch it at least once a month. I'm not even exaggerating. The record is on my record player right now. It's my favorite movie of all time. It's a
Blade
0
Runner
wipe
is your favorite movie
of all time.
You can stay awake. Which version are you watching?
I like the latest version, the
Uber director's cut?
Yeah.
The Uber Ridley Scott version? Because there's
the final cut, as it's called.
It's the final cut.
But I've seen them all.
What's your favorite?
The final cut.
The final cut. The one without over narration?
Overspeak. Yeah. It is my favorite movie of all time. And the new one was beautiful.
So if you watched it again right now, you would give it a 0. You're that confident.
A 0 wipe. It is my favorite, like, gun to my head, one last movie I could see before I die, Blade Runner.
So do you guys...
it lasts forever. So
you wouldn't die.
Prolongs the death.
The killer would fall asleep.
Yeah, exactly.
You can get away.
He would hear like the wom, 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 wom. He'd fall asleep, then he'd leave the room.
It's a fucking masterpiece. It's the perfect movie.
Okay.
It's not a perfect movie. That's why they made 15 versions of it.
Okay, so listen.
This is coming from Teenage fucking Mutant Ninja Turtles over here.
Guess how many versions they made of it?
One too many.
Exactly.
No, they didn't. They made sequels.
Do you agree that we'll let Kerri Gross's score in?
Yes, I'm fine with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that would be 12 divided by 4. So that drops Blade Runner from a 4 all the way down to a 3. So that pulls it up a full 11 spots.
Now what's it between?
If it is now at a 3, it is now tied with... It is now tied in the 49 spot with Christmas Vacation, Commando, and Revenge of the Nerds.
No, those movies are far superior than Blade Runner.
Go fuck yourself.
Okay, I have felt that Blade Runner is a little bit low and we were harsh, so I think the 0 bounces
out. Oh my
out.
God, you're such an
I got a
apologist.
fucking text message from Big D that was like, I watched the final cut. I think you
Yes.
might... I owe you an apology. I should rewatch it.
Listen, Roger. This is
got to be friends with everyone.
Roger. This is not. We didn't move it
This
up.
is how democracy works.
Roger, this is nowhere near the top.
It makes sense. It makes sense that we keep retooling Blade Runner because that's exactly what they did with the movie.
I'm sorry that you don't value Kerri's opinion.
I don't know that Ridley Scott or Harrison Ford would exactly be honored to be on par with Commando.
Yes.
Like, it's not even in the top 5 Schwarzenegger.
Well, then make a better movie.
They did.
They did. 2049.
It's still worse than Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so don't worry.
Good, because that's where it belongs. That movie is fantastic.
Hi, audience.
Little inside baseball for everyone. Well, are there any shout-outs? Now that we got our wipe score, any shout-outs?
There are shout-outs, Raj. We have shout-outs. If you'd like to get your name on the podcast, just go to shatthemovies.com and find any slot where it's asking for shout outs. Put your name in there. And as a thank you to you, we'll read your name on the podcast. This week's shout outs, oh boy, go to Kyles Lee Clark Wellington Jr., Ripper Hyman.
Oh, that's
Robert Raybow.
That's appropriate for this podcast.
Harry Berg, D. Pitty, Aaron, Zachary Scott,
right,
Paul Cooper,
yep,
Katrin,
hey Kay,
and Kobe K. Thanks everyone for visiting Shat the Movies and putting in your shout outs. Again, if you'd like to hear your name on the podcast, just go to shatthemovies.com, find the shout out box, and slap your name in there.
Well, that concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're everywhere, including Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram. Just follow the handle Shat the Movies. We're also on Facebook. Just search for Shat the Movies Podcast. Our website where you can vote on upcoming movies is shatthemovies.com. If you have a category of movies that you want to suggest from the 80s and 90s, email that to us, hosts at shatthemovies.com. We're everywhere fine podcasts can be found, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by iTunes, please be sure to leave a 5-star review. That really helps the podcast grow. Again, you can check out our sister podcast, Shout on TV, where we review television series such as Westworld, Taboo, and American Gods, and Game of Thrones. You can also check out all the information on our website, shatontv.com.
Also, if you are a fan of Labyrinth, I apologize for the rating, but do check out. I promised I would give a plug to my friends over at Luck Dragon Creative. They did an amazing video where they had my friend Victoria acts as Sarah from Labyrinth as a wedding photographer, and it's actually like a tutorial on how to use Flash. But if you are into photography or Labyrinth, do check out. If you just go to YouTube and look for Luck Dragon Creative, they did an amazing job on the production. And it's only had 299 views, so let's try to get them some views.
Yeah, we can tweet
great.
it out on shatthemovies.com.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, also stay to the end if you want to hear the trailer of the next movie we're doing. But it was another one of our commissioned movies. So stay to the end if you want to hear it.
On behalf of my co-hosts, Big D, Kerri Gross, and Gene Sir Didymus Lyons, I'm Roger Roper. Be sure to join us next week for our review of this movie. Thanks for listening. Good night and good luck. Don't eat poison peaches.
He's here. I can feel it.
You search for the scent of your prey, and then you hunt them down. That's the only thing you're committed to.
It keeps me sharp, on the edge, where I gotta be.
You want to be making moves on the street? Allow nothing to be in your life that you cannot walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you spot the heat around the corner.
No, my life's a disaster zone because I spend all my time chasing guys like you around the block.
I do what I do best. I take scores. You do what you do best, trying to stop guys like me.
You've been walking through our life dead.
All I am is what I'm going after.
From The Godfather to Scent of a Woman.
What do we got?
From Raging Bull to Goodfellas.
Assume they got our phones, assume they got our houses, assume they got us.
Their performances have created a legacy of landmark films.
I want full surveillance. That's 24 hours, round the clock. We never close, open 7 days a week.
Now, for the first time, America's two most electrifying actors collide.
This guy, there's more cheap we should pass. The bank is worth the risk. We should take it down.
12.2 million.
You're up. This crew is good.
It ain't worth the risks you take. Like in risk versus reward, baby.
You're fugitive number one with a bullet.
I'm double the worst trouble you ever had.
If I'm there and I gotta put you away, I won't like it. But I'll tell you, you are going down.
What if you do got me boxed in? And I gotta put you down? Because no matter what, you will not get in my way. I will not hesitate for a second.
Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer in a Michael Mann film. Heat.
Chili down, Fire King. Bad hape on the fire. Act tall with the gang fire. Tap your pretty little feet.
Yeah, I tap my pretty little feet. I shake my pretty little hair.
Did you like my spoken word? Shatner-esque?
That was pretty good.
Drive you crazy, real lazy, eyes rolling, funky strolling, ball playing, hip swaying, trouble making, booty shaking. Tripping, passing, jumping, bouncing, driving, styling, creeping, pouncing, shouting, screaming, double dealing, rockin' rollin', reeling with the mackin' sex appeal. Can you dig our groove feelings?
Dun, 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 dun.